Hi, welcome to Making It Artisan Stories. We're here today with Jen Horn and her One-Time Designs creations. These are just a couple of examples of some of the beautiful works that you do.
At the end of 2020 as a kind of a COVID hobby, and it just started with some basic woodworking and it's advanced from there. I really love the look of resin and I've always loved it and I've always wanted to learn how to do it. So once I started learning how to use power tools and do basic woodworking, I decided to try adding this to it too. The flowy art of resin appealed to me because, you don't have to be able to like draw or paint necessarily to be able to do it.
I just started to see that there was this theme to where my imagination went, just these certain little bits that it came back to, and when I was done, I called up my friend and I said, I think we could make a little book out of this. And we did, and that's it. And people who read it seem to really like it.
I read it last night and this morning, and I was enthralled. I was so impressed with this book. I immediately wanted to read more of what you had written. It was subtly humorous, but it was also deep, and it was thought-provoking.
I was born in Wallingford, lived here all my life. My father had a dairy farm until he was 60 years old. I took part in getting hay and raking hay and having a fine time in the outside, but I also liked to play with crafts, and that's how I got here today, because you're interviewing me about crafts.
And your art.
And painting.
That painting behind you, does that happen to be your father, the farmer?
Oh, it does happen to be.
Welcome to Midlife Matters, where we celebrate women's wisdom and wit. I'm Georgianne Lucier, your host, and I'm delighted to introduce Liz White, who is a fifth-generation publisher and executive with the Record Journal, and that serves 265,000 households in Connecticut. So welcome, Liz.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm very interested in sharing all the information behind the scenes about your work. And you grew up in the news industry, and you have strategic and operational responsibilities. So let's hear about the number of publications that you have that people might not be aware of.
We call ourselves our Record Journal Media Group, or RJ Media Group. And we have the Record Journal, which is a daily newspaper that covers Meriden, Wallingford, Southington, and Cheshire.
Welcome to Midlife Matters, where we celebrate women's wisdom and wit. I'm Georgianne Lucier, your host, and I'm delighted to introduce today's guest, Gwen Samuel. Gwen is the president and founder of Connecticut Parents Union, and she is a taxpayer advocate and much, much more. We're all in for a treat. Welcome, Gwen.
Thank you so much for having me. I work with the Black and Puerto Rican Caucus and other lawmakers, and we introduced a parent empowerment law. And the attacks on parents was so brutal. It didn't matter what color you were. Parents weren't capable of being engaged in their children's life, making decisions, regarding education. And I'm like, excuse me, Mr. Government. Last time I checked the birth certificate, your name wasn't on there.
And I'm delighted to introduce today's guest, Galina Latham, a Wallingford resident who grew up in Ukraine and is helping to send much-needed supplies in the midst of that terrible war. Welcome, Galina.
It's an honor to be here.
Wonderful. You recently wrote an article for Wallingford magazine, described how you've channeled what I would call your anguish into action. So there was one wonderful neighbor that you had that really helped.
If the weight of the world is too much to carry on your own, remember, you're not alone. No matter what time of day, help is only 3 numbers away. Nearly 50 million Americans struggle with mental health, and no time is the wrong time to ask for help. So, when feeling down or feeling blue, here's what to do. Call 988. It's never too late.
me test you. What do you do when a villain appears and you don't know the truly evil powers that it has? Exactly.
Okay, my turn. Oh, what do you do when there's a villain and you can't get out?
I know. Hide out.
And what's hide out, smarty pants?
It's like when you play hide and seek or peekaboo, except you don't want the villain to Pikachu.
Assess your surroundings. Always know where you are, who is with you, what is around you, what do you see, what do you hear, what do you smell. Once you have assessed the situation, believe. Believe that what you see is true. We tend to see something wrong and say, no, it can't be. That's not happening. Well, cadets, it is. Cadets, there is a real villain approaching the main.